Welcome to Horror Melee.
A podcast born of a group of people who love to talk and debate horror.
Every episode, one of us picks a movie to review, and the rest of us must either suffer or enjoy that pick.
Turn off your brain
and enjoy.
On this episode, we have Patrick.
Hey.
And Stephanie.
Hello.
And I am your host of this episode, Holly. And, well, not the episode, Holly. I am your host, Holly, of this episode.
Which is also named Holly.
And today we are going to be talking about the 2006 movie Silent Hill.
Honey, sometimes when you go to sleep, you go on a little walk. And sometimes you talk about a place.
I don't remember.
That's why we're going to go there. So you can remember.
Sharon! Sharon! Somebody! Help!
Christopher, Sharon's gone. I need your help. I'm not okay. Please, hurry.
Fire started 30 years ago.
Dad!
I don't know what's happening. Do you know what's going on here?
This place is completely cut off.
Only the dark one opens and closes the door to Silent Hill.
Where is she? I'm trying to find my wife.
She looks exactly like Sharon.
Why?
Rose, come on!
Rose, hurry! It's coming!
To find your daughter, you must face the darkness of hell.
It's okay, baby. Mommy's coming.
It was directed by Christopher Gans, written by Roger Avery. Obviously a adaptation of the PlayStation game Silent Hill, starring Radha Mitchell, Laurie Holden, and Sean Bean. So I had picked this movie because I played, well, I can't say I actually played the original Silent Hill. I had friends who played Silent Hill, and I was kind of go over to their house and play the game, watch them play the game. I played sequels of the game, but I never played the original. But I remember when this came out, and I was kind of, at the time, I was like kind of blown away. It felt like a really good adaptation of the game, and it kind of, I can't say I've seen a lot of video game adaptations, but for me, this was, out of what I've seen, this is the one that's had the biggest atmosphere that was closest to the game. So
it's funny you say that because during this time there was tons of video game adaptations, and this is by far the closest adaptation to a video game, to the actual game, compared to the other ones, which is just like Doom. Yeah, just trash, just garbage. But this actually, the rights and stuff were really hard to get for this movie, and it took him a long time. And the game studio was like, "Yeah, we like what you're doing, so go ahead and do it." And he stayed true to his word, Christopher Gans. It's probably the most correct adaptation of a video game that we've seen so far.
What do you think, Steph?
Well, I've never played the video game, and when it comes to video games, I really haven't played anything beyond 007 on N64 when I was babysitting kids. So, and that actually was really scary to play. So, really anything past Super NES, I don't even know. I mean, when it comes to video game adaptations, the only thing that comes to mind is the Street Fighter starring Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile. I mean, come on.
Just take the hostages out. If I'm not topside in 15 minutes, evacuate without me. Both of you. That's an order.
Perfect casting.
Not the Mortal Kombat movies.
Super Nintendo. Okay, I didn't have or I should say my brother didn't have the other one. So whatever my brother had, I was limited to that. And I was limited to like when he wasn't playing was when I was able to play. So.
I think we're actually forgetting the best adaptation of a video game, which would be the Super Mario movie.
John Leguizamo as Luigi.
Oh man.
I mean, this movie definitely doesn't follow the game to a T. You know, it just takes aspects from the game. Like the main character in the game's a dude, not a woman.
Okay, so can you guys talk about that? Because my biggest question was like, how accurate to the game is this?
They take like locations and they take like characters from the game. They take a general story, the general story of the game. I'm doing air quotes.
So what is the story of the game?
Man, it's been so long since I've played, but it's very similar. It's like the dad's going in to find his daughter, or he gets into Silent Hill and he goes around and he unlocks a demon, incubus demon that is like controlling the world, and then he gets the daughter and leaves Silent Hill, and they have like this happy ending at the end of the game.
Yeah.
That was probably the worst way to describe that game. So anyone listening that's a fan of the game, I'm sorry.
I did not have a problem with them. I mean, I loved Harry. Harry Mason was the character from the original game. He was an awesome character, and I have no problems with them switching it up and making a woman the main character of the movie. But their reasoning was pretty stupid. They said that they wanted to change it because a father wouldn't have the same love and emotional connection to a daughter that a mom would have. I'm like, that's bullshit. That is bullshit.
Whoa, total bullshit. Whoa. Okay, wait, Holly. You're saying like everything you just said. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like we had so many strong female characters. Like the women were represented so hard in this, and the guy like Sean Bean playing the dad was like, I can't do anything and I'm not finding anything out. And I even read that like the studio wanted a leading man, so Bean's role was just like some bullshit subplot they came up with.
They wanted a leading man because there was not enough male influence in the movie.
Male influence. It was written and directed by dudes.
On-screen male influence.
Sean Bean's character he was supposed to be like the Harry Mason character, and as I was watching it this time around, I was like, I can see him and Rose's characters having two separate movies. I don't remember much of the sequel, Revelations, but if they wanted to do a sequel, it could have been his character going to look for Rose. And I mean their daughter too. But his character was my biggest problem in this movie. Just because it made no sense. Like he had no point. It was just exposition, and it was all something that she could have done.
You know, I was waiting for the classic Sean Bean move where he was just going to die in the film. And it never came. It never came.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. This movie has some great parts, but I think it kind of falls into the realm of the early 2000s, that kind of genre, and kind of plays on itself. And I don't know, this film in that time era was so strange to me. I was in 9th grade when that movie came out. I forced my mom to take me to go see that movie in theaters. My mom's a very religious woman, and she did not like it.
She did. You mean she didn't relate to Mother in it, with all the God quotes and all the like, repent your sins and you're a life of sin?
The only thing she remembers is the barbed wire going up to the woman's privates. That's the only thing she remembers from that movie.
That was pretty. I mean, even the first time I watched it, I was like, was that necessary? But okay.
But they just like, there's like this weird, they want to make these kind of very unique worlds, but the CGI is not that great, and they do put a lot of production value in it, but there's all these weird camera movements, so it just feels unnatural. So you're kind of in this, like, it's a movie, and then they want to make you kind of get involved with it, but it just never plays well. I don't know. It's only in this early 2000s where they have this, like, dark palette of films. Like, Jeepers Creepers falls in the role, even though I love Jeepers Creepers. It has that same, like, style of color palette as Silent Hill, and Silent Hill has the same as Resident Evil, and Resident Evil has the same as Doom, and like, it just, they all almost look the same, even though they're completely different movies.
Yeah.
It's like one of my biggest pet peeves from this entire film. But I do enjoy this movie a lot.
Yeah, like stuff like right from the beginning, like it's, well, not from the beginning, like the point when she's like driving down the road, like on her way with Sharon to Silent Hill, that's like, that is the game. Like that atmosphere of like driving down the street, like with the woods and just dark, and then like when she gets to Silent Hill and like the fog and everything, like that is that, and the camera angles too, like it feels like I can picture myself playing this as a video game.
In the games, like, I just, because I only played the games once and I was young, but I just remember in the game walking around like almost an empty city with all the fog, and like going into a house and seeing something and like closing the door and going into the next. I was like, nope, I'm not going to be doing that.
Yeah.
So it's wait, like in the game, could you or like go like open a door and see what's in there, and like go to a school, go to the hotel, go to all these places that they went to?
No, there was some places you could go and like inspect, and
most of the time it's like the door's locked, you need a key. Like it's a very puzzle oriented game. Like, you have to do point A, point B, and find the key for this door. And
but going back to what you were talking about, Holly, when she's like driving to Silent Hill, that part of the movie did irritate me for one reason. There was no reason for her to run away from the cop and drive 1,000 miles an hour through a locked gate with her daughter in the car.
Okay,
whatsoever.
Good, because I was like, why did she do that? Why is she running away from the cop? What does she have to hide? Like,
I was so confused on that.
So I know that was the one thing that always irritated me, but the second time around when I was watching it for this podcast, I was thinking like, because her husband had frozen the credit cards, he could have possibly been the one to call the police and be like, my wife has abducted our child. So she could have been on the lookout, but still it's like, I had to like think about it and piece that together. All this time that I've been watching this movie, like it never made sense. I've just been like, why? You have nothing to hide. There's nothing going on. You're fine. She's fine.
It's your daughter.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't like that I had to sit here, think of it, and it wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't spelled out, but it took a lot of piecing things together where I feel like it shouldn't have taken that much effort for me to think about it.
Yeah, I agree. It's just like that part of the movie, until you said that, like it never made sense. I was like, why is she running from this cop?
Yeah.
The cop that looks like Terminator. Why are you running from her?
Laurie Holden, who is amazing, and the first time I watched this, I was like, I'm taking a fucking self-defense class, because that scene where she like whips out her like police baton and like beats up 3 dudes, I was like, I love Laurie Holden. I love her in Walking Dead, even in Pyewacket. Like, I'm like, I love this chick. She's killing it. And my question was this cop in the game? Was there a cop in the game?
Yes.
Did the parent have a buddy? So there was like a buddy with the parent searching for the kid.
I don't remember her role too much, but I know she was in the game.
Yeah.
So it was a female cop.
Yeah, it was the same Sybil. Yeah, it was the same person.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
So imagine the game being with Sean Bean and Sybil, and that would be the game, not Rose and Sybil.
Yeah,
with Sean Bean just being a dude.
But was there the whole plot of the cults and burning this child and the child having this darkness versus lightness?
Yeah. It's the whole he's searching for. I'm pretty sure he's still searching for his missing, even adopted daughter, and I think he encounters the cult, and I believe the ending, the demon is incubus, one of those.
The band,
the guitarist from Incubus just comes out. No, but I'm pretty sure it's
pardon me while I burn.
It's the same thing. I can look it up really quick.
One of the things that I love about this movie is it's the same in the game too, the siren when it's going to change.
Yeah.
And in Texas, do you guys get
yes.
you get the weather sirens? And it always reminds me of that. And I know when it's going to happen here, and I'll usually be dropping off the kids, and all of a sudden I'm like opening the car door and I hear the sirens and I start freaking out. I'm like, it's Silent Hill.
One night, someone hacked into the sirens around our house, and at like midnight they just started off and just kept play for like an hour.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. The ones in Chicago sound way scarier.
Wait, hold on. I actually have it pulled up. Hold on. Let me play a little. Wait. That's a weather alert, and then there's like this is a scary one.
Anybody remember the Slipknot song, Pulse of the Maggots? Can you hear me? We are here.
These are scary.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah, when I lived in Chicago, I was watching video on demand, and the Weather Channel stopped the video on demand and said there's a tornado warning in these counties, including Chicago County, and I was like, what? This is a thing? This is the Midwest? What the heck? And I remember running down towards like the bottom stairwell of my apartment, and then like some of my neighbors came down and we were all like, what do we do? Should we get some beers? I don't know. Is this happening? Is this a thing? Like,
yeah, we would always just go. Our basement was like, it was a half finished basement. So we had a TV and like couches down there and everything. And you know, if the weather started looking crappy, then we would just hang out down there for like an afternoon.
I grew up in the desert. We had dust storms. That's about it.
That's scary.
It never rained. It got windy every now and then, but tumbleweeds were the biggest thing that we, would witness.
One of the things I wanted to talk about was the the monsters in the movie. And so the first one that we come across is, the first special effect that we come across is that the miner, when she's like going through the fences and like she's in the building, the miner on the fence, and he's like kind of strung up and he's just hanging out there.
So the miner you're talking about, I always thought that was just one of the cult people that got strung up and tortured and killed.
I thought
it wasn't a monster.
Yeah, I thought he's just like a person. Yeah. But the thing that comes right after him is the
children.
The gray children, yeah. Oof. And yeah, like you were saying before, something about the effects. And, the practical effects in this movie are so amazing. And then you get hit with something like the gray children, which I think this might be on the behind the scenes on the DVD, that all of these effects, all of the creatures were all practical, but for some of them, the ones that are all CGI looking, they put a filter or whatever, they enhance them with CGI. Yeah. And it's just such a big disconnect. Like you have this amazing practical effect and then you see this computer thing and it's just such a disconnect between the effects.
And that's what I was talking about in the beginning. Like this era of movies always had this kind of weird feel because it's that time when they're like, we could use CGI, but then you're like, should you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Should you? Because it still kind of doesn't look that great. Like nowadays, when they're doing a thing like last episode of Game of Thrones, they have all these deads. And they're like, we'll enhance it with some CGI. So you have this huge prosthetic with, maybe their eyes and some blood coming out of that CGI. And it looks phenomenal. Because you can't tell anymore.
Yeah.
It's, not until there's a ton of CGI.
When I watched this, I felt that the monsters and all the scary things looked like the video game. And do you think that was like, yes, that was the best quality they could come up with at the time? Or do you think it was like, let's make it kind of look like the video game to give them that video game feel?
No, I think it hits this point where it's like they want to do what's happening in the video game, so they need to use CGI. But you're at a point where the CGI, when you add CGI into something, anything that is real that's standing next to the CGI, you're automatically going to be able to tell that it's CGI. So I think it just has to do with the time.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
not
like
necessarily...
I don't fault the movie for that exactly. Like, it's what they had. It wasn't as advanced as it is now. But I just wish that they would have stuck to one or the other, or I don't know, just lightened up on the CGI, because it can be very distracting.
But once again, it's, that time era was CGI crazy, and it's like people nowadays, they think like, oh, movies use so much CGI. They do, but there's also a rule now where it's like, we'll do 60 real, 40 CGI, or 70 real, 30 CGI, because we know we need to enhance the footage, not saturate it.
Right.
And back then, it was just like, oh yeah, just fix it in post. Fix it in post.
Everybody, that's Patrick's CGI rule.
Yeah. Yeah. So, directors, please follow that. If you don't, I'll still see the movie.
Because one of my favorite monsters is, of course, Pyramid Head.
Yeah.
You hear that? That's him. Jesus Christ.
So, okay, can we talk about Pyramid
Yes.
Head? One of my notes about this movie was, in a video game, you usually have to fight these monsters, and they didn't really fight them. How was the fighting the monsters different in the game? How did they fight the monsters in the game?
I don't remember the game very well.
I remember in Silent Hill 2, it's not Harry Mason. It's a different character. I forget his name. There's this one point where he's fighting Pyramid Head, and you just can't get anything done. Like, you're just, like, you'll die and, try again and try again. You're fighting. You have no idea what to do. And all of a sudden, I don't remember if it's him or if it's just one Pyramid Head or if it's two, but he just leans on his sword and kills himself. And you're like, what the fuck just happened? Like, you spend all that time and then he just kills himself. It's just like this, what? I don't know what's going on. This came out of nowhere, but it's creepy.
But I'm pretty sure these are survival games, so necessarily, like, you don't have to fight. I'm sure at the ending you gotta fight, and you do get a gun and whatnot, but it was one of the first survival horror games out there, where I guess you could just get through the story just by, surviving.
Yeah.
Wandering around.
Avoiding that big knife coming through the door.
God, Pyramid Head was terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, the first time I watched this movie, I was like, whoa, this is a pretty badass monster to fight. And I mean, he's got that huge ass knife. That Pyramid Head reminds me of the husband and wife in Beetlejuice when he pulls his like face out. That's not gonna lie, all I could think of. But a pretty badass character. And I'm like, okay, so the cop just like shoots her gun at his hand twice, and then he's like, I'm done.
No, it's because the other realm was leaving.
Oh.
He can only exist in Silent Hill.
Yes, in the
dark realm.
The dark realm, yeah.
Dark ether, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, there's obviously the connection between purgatory and hell, and he can only exist in hell and he can't exist in purgatory.
So, Steph, like, did you have any questions about the lore of what was going on? And not being familiar with the video game, were you confused at all about what was going on with Alessa and just that whole storyline of how Sharon came to be and like Dark Alessa?
The first time I watched it, naturally I was confused. But throughout the story, I mean, I was more confused by the monsters and them not necessarily fighting them in a traditional video game setting, but the story of Alessa and, her good side and her bad side, totally understood that. And obviously when it comes to religion, there's always like an evil and a dark side, and religious fanatics being crazy and burning witches at the stake, which is like the classic horror tale. So yeah, no, I understood the whole like Alessa Sharon thing.
Did it upset you guys that she was considered a witch because her mother had her out of wedlock?
Yeah.
I'm gonna burn this little girl alive because you're a sin. Your mother sinned and you're a sin.
And then of course, and then why did they have to follow it up with like, she ran to the bathroom as like a refuge, and she's like, she couldn't even like escape to the bathroom because the creepy janitor was in there.
Oh,
and of
Colin?
course, I was like, why is that a thing?
Because he became one of the best monsters.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will say that watching this, amazing imagery. The guy in the bathroom, when Rose encounters that, it reminded me of Hellraiser at the end.
Yep.
Especially when I forget the guy, but he says Jesus wept.
Yeah.
And I love bringing that religious like vibe into it as well, and being like strewn up and barbed wire is just a very intense, scary image.
Yeah. I was getting Hellraiser vibes too throughout everything.
Did you guys notice like when it was like touching the wall and floor, how it just like started decaying and just like turning to rot?
Yeah.
Everything you touched?
Yeah, that was some CGI that it did not look distracting.
I was reading an article about that, and it was saying, because obviously Colin being a pedophile, everything he touched ruined innocence, but since you're in hell, what innocence is there to ruin? So he just decayed things even further with his touch, and that's why the director did that. Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Which Christoph Gans has done not that much. I was looking at his LinkedIn. Yeah, him and I connected on LinkedIn. We're professionals. No, he just mainly does movies in France, and he's only done like 4, 5. That's it. Silent Hill is his only like U.S. film, which he should have got more after Silent Hill. I mean, I think it did pretty well in the box office, right?
Yeah, I think they had a budget of like 50 million, and they ended up taking in like 100 million.
Oh, that's it? Then I think that my favorite monsters in this movie are the nurses.
Oh yes, agreed.
Yes.
How terrifying is that? Just like, don't touch me.
I wish it was a longer scene, and I wish they built that up more, because those nurses, first of all, they sounded scary because it sounded like cracking knuckles, but then they also had these super cute, light, like gasp, like, you know, like with these weird, wet, cracking bone sounds.
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I feel the same too. Like they're such a big part of the game, and I wish that they would have had a little more time. I mean, same thing with Pyramid Head too. I wish that like he had that one really cool kill with what's her name? Anna. Where he just like picks her up and rips off her flesh. That was awesome. But
yeah,
I wish there was a little more of the monsters. And which,
yeah.
you know, if they didn't have, you know, Sean Bean's character Chris in there so much, they could have spent a little more time like in Silent Hill and just like really bringing you into that atmosphere.
Yeah, they didn't. You know, it could have been a budget thing, but they didn't spend much time in the dark part of Silent Hill. Right. It was mainly in the fog, or you know, her trying to be Batman and search for clues. Which she could have just.
I'm Batman.
Yeah, I wanted her to be Batman in Dark Silent Hill, like fighting monsters and shit.
Yeah.
Yes. And I always felt like Sybil could have had a bigger part of that too, but they just decided to tie her to a ladder and burn her.
Although that's a pretty horrifying death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an intense scene. I was like, when I was watching, I was like, oh, I remember this. I was like, yeah, but they don't show it. And I'm like, oh, it's not stopping.
wait, so that happens. So that happens in the game?
No, I believe Sybil survives in the game.
Oh,
I think that's her name.
So then this whole subplot of whatever Sean Bean, whatever his name is, Mr. De Silva, and the local cop who was there during the 1974 burning of all this. So that whole him and that guy running around and he's like, oh, I feel her, I smell her perfume. Bullshit. That doesn't happen in the game.
Nah, not that I remember. I mean, it's been so long since I've played the game.
No, it was like his story, and if you were to swap like him and Rose, like this would be his movie. And I think he was looking for in the first one it's his wife. Second one the other character was looking for sorry, daughter, and then second one was wife.
Yeah, and then like, you know, in the game the evil demon allows them to, after he defeats him, allows them to leave Silent Hill and they go back to a happy normal life. This one they end up in purgatory, you know.
That was my final question of like, so did they die? Where are they? They're in purgatory?
How I interpret it was you had good Alyssa and bad Alyssa that became one, and the whole quote of, you know, God is mother is God.
Yeah, mother is God in the eyes of a
on.
child.
Yeah, that whole thing was just like, you know, I'm just gonna spend my own world with my mom, so why leave purgatory when I could just have her to myself? We could be here together forever, just her and I, as we are now, together.
Yeah.
So that's how I interpret it. So bad Alyssa and good Alyssa became one Alyssa.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kept Mother Rose in Silent Hill / purgatory.
Not Silent Hill, but yeah, just her own world, essentially. Bad Alyssa's own world.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I interpret it. Like, she's still in purgatory.
Yeah, I think that's I saw, let me see if I can find it. I was watching a good recap of the movie, and it compared it to the game, and it's wait,
the game starring Michael Douglas.
No,
okay,
the Silent Hill
the
game.
video game. I'm sorry.
Which is
and
a great movie.
That is a good movie because Alessa's mom was also in the game starring Michael Douglas. So that's why the game is on my mind.
That is a good movie. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Also, a really terrifying movie. Imagine like having that many people like almost do like a Truman Show in your life. That's fucking terrifying.
I mean, that's the kind of event production I want to get into.
But all the people that were in Silent Hill, they were all dead though. But which I had a question about. If you go, if you think that, Rose was not actually dead, she was just brought into Alyssa's world. How did Sybil get there into the Purgatory Silent Hill?
They died in the car crash. Well, she said she crashed her motorcycle pretty hard, so I'm guessing she died.
Okay.
So were they all dead and maybe not alive? And that's why they couldn't leave?
I guess. Well, I mean, that could still work with the Alyssa keeps her in purgatory and just not able to, cross over as it would be.
The one thing that confused me, like when I was watching this, is like, oh, baby, evil Alyssa and good Alyssa merged as one. But really, bad Alyssa is stuck to a fucking medical bed shoving, barbed wire up people's asses. And this Alyssa we're seeing here is a demon.
Very true.
Yes. Good Alyssa's just being possessed.
She did say, I have
Right?
multiple names, so she didn't claim to be bad Alyssa. She was like, I'm evil.
But at
she's
the end,
she's a demon. Yeah.
So at the end, she merged with good Alyssa, but still stayed in purgatory. Wouldn't the demon want to get to, to Earth and try some?
That is very true.
wine
I
or
did
something?
not consider that. But yeah, I always saw it as like them merging, like the good and the bad merging. Yeah. But you're right.
She's a demon.
Yeah.
Okay, so this movie is like a possession movie, a witch hunt movie, and like the others where it's like they're in purgatory the whole time and you didn't know it.
And a monster movie.
And a monster movie.
It's a creature feature.
Yeah.
It's got so many things happening.
It's got a lot going on.
And as how much it has going on, it has exactly as many plot holes. So it's got a lot going for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like it was pretty strong up until you started following Chris's character a little more. Like, I don't know, it just kept bringing me out, and then I started to lose interest a little bit, and then the third half is definitely not as strong as the first half part of the movie.
No, because like the cult is cool, but if they were to focus the movie on the cult with the monsters, that would be way better.
Yeah, it was if more fighting the monsters, it wasn't it was more of them like running around finding clues than fighting monsters.
Also, does that policeman never age?
Okay, that was my next question. Like, there's a huge plot hole. Like, is he the one person who survived from 1974 and hasn't aged? Like, he's the one.
Because he saved her.
So he's not in the game, right?
No,
not in Michael Douglas's the game. No.
I don't think that was supposed to be the same person. I was listening to.
Oh, was it supposed to be his dad?
Yes, that's it. Yes, because.
Oh, he did say.
Wait,
his dad.
No, it's not. You know why? You know why it's not his dad? Because he wears gloves in the movie and takes it off and shows the burn marks on the palms of his hand, like he's in Pan's Labyrinth. Just no. So once again, it's the same dude. Maybe it's a genetic thing passed down. Burns are passed down. The demon wanted it, or it's the same dude. So
I think I did have that note my first rewatch doing this. I was like, wait, is he supposed to be the same person? But for some reason I thought he's not.
Another thing that, like, why did the demon want... I know Alyssa wanted her revenge on everyone, and she needed the mom to get into the church. That was, like, her whole thing, to get into the church.
Yeah.
I mean, could she just use good Alyssa? They would have gonna bring good Alyssa in there to burn anyways. She could have just caught her in the beginning of the game, and just, all right, go get burned alive, and I'll save you at some point. Then we'll merge as one.
Well, they used when Rose was in there and she was stabbed by Christabella, like the whatever came out of her, that was it was kind of like an oily looking thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking like they needed like a blood thing. So if they just burned Sharon, maybe that's, it wouldn't seep down into where Alyssa was. I don't know.
True.
I mean, I'm reaching.
maybe because she was part of maybe bad Alyssa, maybe because bad evil Alyssa was technically part of Sharon. They wouldn't let Sharon inside, so Sharon couldn't actually go inside. She needed someone totally different, neutral, aka the adoptive mother, who obviously isn't even blood relation. So that's why not even Alyssa's mom could go into the church, because she needed to hug her and then go in.
She needed to get inside of her belly to get into the church.
Very, very religious.
Yeah.
And I will say, from the very beginning, I just thought of Ozzy Osbourne yelling, "Sharon!"
Okay, so I watched this 2.5 times, and the 2 times that Alan was around for me to watch the very beginning, he just kept yelling Sharon like Ozzy.
Yes.
Oh my god,
Yes.
that's all I could think
Sharon!
of.
Sharon! And the thing is, she yelled literally 2 minutes into the movie, she's yelling Sharon. and in the beginning, she first of all, where do they live? Do they live next to a dam?
It's in Pennsylvania. Oh yeah, in the beginning.
She runs, and I'm like, you're running out of your house. All of a sudden, you're at some highway bridge, and then you're at some waterfall dam Niagara Falls situation, and you're just walking on the cliff, a slippery cliff, ain't no thing.
With no shoes.
Hey, she had slippers. Yeah.
Oh, so she's a good sleepwalker. Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that bothered me though is when the mom was searching for her daughter, right? And she picked up the teddy bear, and then she's under the underpass in the sewage. She just drops her daughter's teddy bear right there. I would not do that as a father. No, I'd keep that thing with me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But the mom, Rose is literally running up a slippery cliff and looking for her daughter, and the mom has no sense of this is dangerous. Even in the part of the movie where she crosses that hole, not holding on to anything, like a trapeze artist or a tightrope artist.
Yeah, she's just jumping around. I'm okay.
even Sybil the cop was like, "Baby girl, how did you get over there? This is super dangerous." Reality check. And she's like, "Wait, what? I do this all the time, chasing my daughter, who's a sleepwalker."
I mean,
don't you know I'm from Cirque du Soleil?
Yeah, we just don't know that much about her.
Yeah.
So, have both of you seen The Mist?
Yes.
The movie, not the miniseries.
Yes, I love the movie.
Have you seen it, Steph?
We'll go ahead and end this call now.
The Mist. I've seen the miniseries. I think I may have watched the movie The Mist, but
anyway, the woman who plays Christabella in this movie, Alice Krieg, I think you say her last name, she reminds me of Marcia Gay Harden in The Mist. It's just that religious fanatic, and just I just love that kind of archetype, and I think she did a really great job.
Yeah. But I also didn't understand her religion at the same time in this movie, or in Silent Hill. What did they worship? Because they had some cult symbol.
Yeah, it was unclear. The only thing definitive was we burn witches, but I'm not exactly sure.
But they burn witches like they're at like they were Nazi Germany's. Did you see all that symbolism everywhere and those big fucking golden? Like I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
You're in a hotel room.
I know, the Grand Hotel. I was like, wait, why are you guys making like an entrance? Like this is a movie premiere.
Yeah, all I could think of when I saw them during that back scene when they're in that hotel was just Rosemary's Baby. Just kept popping in my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the end of the movie, when what's her name, Alyssa comes back and she's getting her revenge on everyone. Why did they decide to go with the way they killed the main woman?
I don't know.
What creative choice came up with that? Like there could have been 100 different ways.
The barbed wire and ripping her in half.
Yeah, but the barbed wire entering her through a certain area and ripping her in half.
I mean, it happened in The Evil Dead, so maybe slight little nod to that, but oof, yeah.
I mean, that's ultimate. That's perversion, and that's
true.
Very like
ultimate
violating.
Yeah,
that's
like think
the ultimate violation right there.
Think of The Exorcist, like that scene with Reagan and the crucifix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you have so many strong female characters in this movie, and yes, when you see
that's why you needed Sean Bean in it.
He just needed to soften the edges a little bit by struggling to figure out what's happening as everything that's actually happening. And
because, Patrick, you wouldn't be able to understand the movie if you didn't have a strong male character.
Sean Bean was my guiding light through this film. It's the only reason I understood it.
Oh man, I mean, all these strong women's, and that's like the ultimate like violator of women.
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather be killed like that or burned alive? Me, burned alive, 100%.
Wait. Are you asking like if I was going to die?
All of us have a choice of dying like
so it
that
would be
or being burned alive.
Bent over like Officer Sybil.
Yes.
So bent over
death.
like Officer Sybil, like slowly getting
like a marshmallow.
Boils. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Or burnt like Mother. I'm gonna call her Mother Superior, with being hung up by barbed wire, and then barbed wire
getting all your holes filled with barbed wire,
and then eventually being ripped in half.
Yeah. I'm going burned alive, hands down, 100%.
Yeah, I would go burned alive too because.
Yeah, I think so, because maybe I'm hoping that maybe I would like pass out before.
Well, I mean, eventually your nerve endings would burn off, right? So you're not gonna feel it that much at one point. You're just gonna suffocate from not being able to breathe, and then catch on fire.
Yeah.
I'd be burned alive just because at least I was all in one point, like together, tied up, and I wouldn't feel violated.
Or would you rather have your flesh ripped off like a chicken skin?
That might be preferable because I feel like you would just like go. You're done.
But would you? But do you like? Is that's just like blood? I mean, those are your nerve endings. Like you're still getting blood to your heart and oxygen to your brain, right?
I'm just at that point. I'm just hoping shock would take over.
Yeah, I love when he throws the skin and it hits the door and like they get the blood on them. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Let's continue this scene.
Wait, seriously though, because like that's like the only scene where she was like, oh god, this is on me, as the door was closed and it like hit the door, and it like it was so detailed. You know, versus like other scenes where it was a little quicker, but they really wanted it. To me, it sounded like it felt like they really wanted the skin to have an impact.
Yeah.
Yes.
It did have an impact on that door.
Was that something that happened in the game? Like taking the skin off? Was that an option?
No. I don't remember that.
No.
What would you do with all those bugs though?
Oh,
I hate those bugs.
They reminded me of the Judas Breed.
Oh, Oh,
Just big ass cockroaches.
All I could think of was the mummy and the scarab beetles.
Oh.
yes.
You know, I really wish they didn't have them crawling on Pyramid Head, because that was another instance where it's like there's just such a disconnect in like what I'm seeing. And yeah.
Pyramid Head alone is creepy.
Yes. Yeah, you don't need him crawling with bugs.
Yeah. Especially they look so bad.
All right,
The
so
bugs
I
look
think
so
we can wrap up our thoughts. Patrick, what are your final thoughts? What do you have to say?
You know, this movie is definitely flawed. There's a lot of plot holes. Sometimes the story doesn't make sense. The CGI gets a little rough at some points, but overall, I still find it very enjoyable. They do a really good job of keeping this like eeriness throughout the film. Even when you're just in the fog, and then when you're in the dark part of Silent Hill, like both of them still have this very creepy feeling, and they do a good job at both of that. And it's just fun to watch. Some cool deaths. A little girl dances in rain of blood, which is awesome. Yeah, overall, I enjoy this movie.
Steph, how about you?
I liked it. Totally agree with Patrick and how it was totally eerie, good music, good background vibes, like
Yeah,
running
I
through
love the music.
Plenty of creepy visuals. You know, going into the bathroom and the barbed wire guy and creeping through an old town, and you know, anything with like a religious cult is always creepy. I personally loved that she wore her Nokia phone around her neck the whole time. It didn't work, but she kept it with her. God bless that. I absolutely love Laurie Holden holding it down, you know. Even though I didn't play the game, I thought this was a very enjoyable movie. I had a lot of classic horror themes in it, but I thought it was still original in a sense, you know?
Yeah.
So definitely enjoyed. And I really loved how Rose, the mom, is fighting the evil, and then she meets the evil, understands the evil, and then helps the evil out exact their revenge.
So before we go to your part, Holly, what you just said, Stephanie, where she finds the evil and then helps the evil, I interpreted that scene as she found the evil gave her an ultimatum: help me get your daughter. It wasn't help the evil, it was I want my daughter, I'll do whatever I can, and the evil exploiting that.
The way I interpreted that is the mother is empathetic and going back to the point of how, you know, Sean Bean wasn't, you know, doing the job because he's a dude, and, you know, fathers don't have that connection like mothers do, which is bullshit. Okay.
Mother is God in a child's eye.
But I thought that, you know, the mother would understand a child, and the mother wasn't necessarily like, I'm going to help you exact your revenge, but she understood that
The truth needed to get out.
Yeah. Like,
yeah, I understood that, but I still felt like it was more, I don't know, I just felt like it was ultimatum almost.
I would have to, now that you're saying this, I would have to watch it again, but I thought that the mother like really empathized with Alessa's situation, the burned one, the evil one, and she understood like the anger, you know, the like this what they did to me made me, you know, because as the mom is just like, yeah, like you know, she was like, no one was gonna tell me no, like I was going to Silent Hill, fuck everybody. My husband tried to like call the cops on me and like cancel credit cards, but I was gonna do this. So she understood the like perseverance and the focus of like, I gotta accomplish this goal. And she just was like, Alessa just wanted a hug, you know, at the end. Just wanted a hug.
I just want a hug.
Yeah, I feel like if because Alessa is basically the reason that she has her daughter, Sharon, that's, you know, if it wasn't for Alessa, she wouldn't have Sharon, who that's her whole life, her whole purpose of being there. And yeah, it's kind of like a marriage of your two ideas. Like, she is kind of given an ultimatum, but it's like not a choice for her. Like, she knows what she's going to do because she would not have Sharon if it weren't for Alessa.
Yeah, and even Rose is like, tell me what I need to do. She's submitting, which I didn't think she was like, oh, I'm gonna like pull a fast one on you. She submitted to be like, I understand your story and I want to help you. Tell me how I can help you.
Right.
I mean, I'm just a woman. Who knows? You're just a dude, Patrick.
Yeah, there's not enough male influence here. So dumb.
Let's rate this out of let's do nurses.
Yes. They didn't get enough love.
Patrick, how many nurses do you give this?
3. I'll give it 3 nurses.
All right. Steph, how about you? How many nurses?
Oh, no follow-up on that, Patrick? No, like, description of, like, why?
Yeah, because if there's 3 nurses in a room, I think I could get by them still. No,
it's too many.
It's 3 nurses. No, 3 nurses. Because overall, the movie's flawed. There's tons of flaws in it. There's tons of plot holes. Some things don't make sense. There's some parts I really don't like, but overall, it's an enjoyable movie and it holds my attention. It has eeriness to it. There's some great deaths. So I'll give it 3 blinded nurses.
Steph, how about you?
I'm going to give it 3.5. Yeah, like, I'm going to echo everything Patrick said, but this movie didn't bother me as much as any redone possession story, witch hunt story, revenge story. Like, there is something original and tasteful about this. It's totally atmospheric. I definitely enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed watching it for a second time. I'd be down to watch it a third time. Fast forward through the Sean Bean parts, of course.
You mean Eddard Stark?
I would be very interested to play the game and see how the game compares to this.
They made Silent Hill PT. It was called. It was a demo for a new Silent Hill game that they wanted to make, which this one of my favorite video game directors and creators wanted to make part of the franchise. So he made this huge 25-minute long, 30-minute long playthrough. And you just are literally circling a house. And each time you circle it, it gets darker and darker and more insane and more insane. It was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And then they never made the game.
Oh.
But you should watch, if you guys want, you should watch the playthrough. It's called Silent Hill PT. Unless I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's called Silent Hill PT.
So I'm going to give this 3.5 as well. I enjoyed playing these games when I was just in high school, just out of high school, and it just really captures the atmosphere that I loved of the games. And I agree with you, Steph. I would fast forward the Sean Bean parts. You
guys are fast forwarding the best parts.
Yeah,
it's the only part that makes the movie understandable.
Cut out everything else, just him.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. He was just exposition, and it was useless exposition. Any of that could have been done by Rose. I feel like they could have given her, the same job, and switching back and forth between the Silent Hill, the purgatory, the dark Silent Hill, and going to the real world. It was the same as I was saying before, seeing this really awesome practical effects, and then seeing the CGI on top of these effects. There's a disconnect, and it seems like you're jumping from one thing to another, and visually it gets a little confusing and it's not consistent. But overall, I love the characters. I love the story and atmosphere. And I love that all the music, I mean, save for the Johnny Cash song, but all the music is from the games. And I've always loved Silent Hill music. I think it's beautiful and it really lends to that atmosphere. So I'm going with 3.5.
Yeah, the first little, when the movie starts, the little God, what's his name? Akira Yakamona.
Yeah.
Caden's Weapon sampled that, and I was like, wait, what? So it's cool to see where people's samples come from.
Yeah. Yeah, so before we go, I had posted on our Facebook page, I asked people to let us know what their favorite video game movie adaptations were. We had a couple responses. Andy said that Mortal Kombat was his favorite.
All right. Get over here.
Finish him.
And then we have a response from Mr. Watson of the Horror Corridor podcast, which is, he says it's going to be going away soon, which is breaking my heart. And really, Mr. Watson, do you want to break my heart? But he said that his favorite is Silent Hill 2006.
Nice.
So, I hope you enjoyed this episode, Mr. Watson.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome.
All right. Yeah, so that is pretty much it for this episode of Horror Melee. So if you want, check us out on Facebook and Instagram and horrormelee.com. Send us an email at horrormelee@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts, questions, give us some ideas of movies you want to see, and just strike up a conversation. We're here. Let's talk.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Also, find me on neopetslive.com. Got some pets out there. We can have some play dates.
Wait, really? Is that a thing?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
It used to be. I used to play it all the time.
Me too.
I was like, wait, how do you find dog play days? Wait, what? Let's do this. Neopets? I was like Googling it like, oh, is this a thing?
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.